Hello, welcome to Unmasked. Today we will bring you a case that happened in China in 2015. Compared to other cases we have done on the channel, this case has a fairly simple and predictable plot. However, what we want to convey is the story behind the case. A story that you may have seen somewhere in your daily life. Although not new, it brings a lot of thoughts about the law of cause and effect. On August 21, 2015, in Shaoyang, Hunan, China, the police received a report from a woman named Yang Shuili, Mrs. Li, 51 years old, about her ex-husband, Wang Zhaohai, Mr. Wang, who had died tragically at his home. At around 8:45 p.m. on Sunday, August 20, 2015, while working at her restaurant, Mrs. Li received a phone call from her ex-husband. Because there were too many customers and she did not want to have anything to do with Mr. Wang anymore, she put her phone aside without picking it up. At 10:55 p.m., after the last customers left, Mrs. Li had time to rest and picked up her phone to look at it. At this time, she discovered that her ex-husband had called her 3 times, along with a text message with unreadable characters. Mrs. Li could only translate 5 words. "I am in critical condition." Mrs. Li read the message with an extremely disgusted attitude and thought that Mr. Wang was just drunk and looking for an excuse to cause trouble. On the surface, she said that nothing had happened and that she did not care about her ex-husband, but on the inside, she felt uneasy. At 11:15 p.m., Mrs. Li could not bear it anymore and called her ex-husband again. She called 3 times in a row, but no one answered. Early the next morning, Mrs. Li continued to call Mr. Wang, but he still did not answer. Unable to reach her ex-husband, Mrs. Li immediately called their son, Wang Tuan, to ask about the situation. She called him 7 times in a row, but he did not pick up the phone either. Feeling that something was wrong, Mrs. Li took a taxi from Zhangzhou to Shaoyang to check on the situation. At 11:30 a.m. on August 21, 2015, Mrs. Li was in front of Mr. Wang's house. This is a 2-story house built in a spacious garden house style, with a tight wall, a large garden, a fish tank, a tea table, and a bonsai area right in the yard. After the divorce, Mrs. Li received the money converted from the common property from Mr. Wang and returned to her hometown to open a small restaurant. She no longer has the gate key to this house. Although she had arrived, Mrs. Li had no intention of entering the house. She just wanted to stand outside to see if her ex-husband and son were living well. Through the gaps in the gate, she saw that the door was closed, and there was no one in the garden and tea table. Thinking that there was no one in the house, Mrs. Li called her son, asked him to go out to dinner, and conveniently asked how his life had been recently. Wang Tuan, Kevin, 23 years old, had just graduated from university but had not yet found a job. Mrs. Li called him. The phone was still ringing, but no one answered. Not knowing what to do next, Mrs. Li discovered that the gate was not locked. The gate was open, so there was definitely someone home. Thinking that her son might be sleeping on the 2nd floor, Mrs. Li took the risk of opening the gate and entering. As soon as she entered the house, she called out Kevin's name loudly. This house had been built by her and her ex-husband for many years. From the arrangement of furniture to the relaxing corners in the yard, everything was meticulously chosen by Mrs. Li. However, she had nothing to do with this house now. Mr. Wang had lived here with his new wife. If it weren't for her son living here, Mrs. Li would never have wanted to step foot in this painful place. Mrs. Li walked into the yard, sat at the tea table, and made noises as she walked, calling out Kevin's name loudly so that everyone in the house could hear. She sat in the yard for more than 15 minutes, bawling until her throat was hoarse, but no one came out of the house. She took out her phone and called both her ex-husband and her son, but no one answered. After sitting for a while, feeling impatient, Mrs. Li decided to go into the house to look for someone. It was almost 12 noon. The door was only closed, but not locked. Mrs. Li opened the door and entered the living room to find Mr. Wang lying in a pool of black blood on the floor. She ran back to check and saw that her ex-husband's body had stiffened. Worried that something had happened to her son, Mrs. Li cried and ran around the house looking for Kevin. Not seeing her son, she panicked and reported the case to the police. Immediately after receiving the call from Mrs. Lee, the police sent an investigation team to the scene of the crime. The victim was Mr. Wang, 59 years old, 1 m 71 tall, 80 kilograms, originally from Zhangzhou, Hunan. He's a good businessman, currently working in the real estate sector with an average annual income of up to 290,000 yuan. Mr. Wang divorced his ex-wife, Mrs. Lee, in early 2014. They have 2 children, a son, Kevin, 23, who lives with Mr. Wang, a daughter, Walna, 16, who lives with Mrs. Lee in Zhangzhou. Currently, Mr. Wang lives with his son and his new wife, Du Binghong, Nancy, 25 years old, in Shaoyang. Although they live together as husband and wife, they have not registered their marriage. After arriving at the scene, the police sealed off and investigated the house. Although it was not tidy, there were no signs of a break-in or ransacked house. Many valuable items were still intact, such as Mr. Wang's 2 expensive watches and a collection of antique vases in a glass cabinet. Electronic devices such as a television, refrigerator, and telephone were not stolen. The drawers in the victim's living room and bedroom showed no signs of being ransacked. The door and windows showed no signs of being forced open. The house was built in a closed garden style, with a surrounding wall nearly 3 meters high, with sharp iron posts attached to the walls. Normal people could not climb over the wall to enter the house to commit a crime. The possibility of a criminal breaking in to rob and kill is unlikely. If so, this thief would have taken other valuables. To verify whether the family had lost anything, it is necessary to listen to the statements of the remaining members. In addition, the fact that the door was not damaged suggests that the perpetrator could be an acquaintance who was let in by the victim. The body of Mr. Wang lay on his side on the floor in the living room. His head was severely injured, his chest was stabbed many times, and blood from his head and chest flowed onto the floor. There were many pieces of a vase next to the victim. He was still clutching a broken smartphone in his hand. On the table, in addition to a cup and a bowl, there was also a bag of uncut pears. The police found a bloody fruit knife thrown into the kitchen sink. There were various footprints on the floor. Apart from the broken ceramic vase, there were no signs of a struggle in the house. The whole house was eerily silent, except for the ticking of the wall clock like a countdown to death. The unpleasant smell of blood permeated the space, making the atmosphere heavy and gloomy. Mr. Wang was transferred to the Judicial Department for an autopsy. Forensic experts focused on studying and analyzing the traces of injuries on the body to search for important evidence. After the autopsy, no alcohol, illegal substances, or toxins were found in the blood. The investigation team concluded that the victim's time of death was between 1930 and 2130. On Sunday evening, August 20th, 2015, the victim was hit in the head with a vase, causing serious injuries, and then stabbed multiple times in the chest with a knife. The cause of death was concluded to be a fatal stab wound to the left chest, leading to acute blood loss. At the crime scene, the police found many fingerprints. The results of the population data system showed that there were no strange fingerprints. The remaining fingerprints belonged to 3 relatives: ex-wife Mrs. Lee, son Kevin, and new wife Nancy. There were no strange fingerprints at the scene, possibly because the murderer used gloves or the victim's family member was the murderer. The bloody footprints at the scene were of 2 different sizes, indicating that there were 2 people present when Mr. Wang was murdered. Those 2 people could be the murderer or the victim's family member. When the body of Mr. Wang was discovered, police tried to contact Kevin's son and new wife Nancy. Nancy's phone was turned off and could not be contacted, while Kevin's phone was still ringing, but no one answered. Mrs. Lee asked all of Kevin's friends and relationships. No one knew his whereabouts. Based on what was left at the scene, police confirmed that the perpetrator could be a healthy male who knew the victim. There could be more than one perpetrator. It is not excluded that after killing Mr. Wang, the perpetrator kidnapped the victim's wife and son. In the worst case, both the victim's wife and son could be in danger. The local police searched the area for the suspect. More than 20 people with criminal records living around Mr. Wong's house were summoned to give statements. However, the evidence of the case was too vague. All were just hypotheses. There was not enough evidence or motive for the crime. The suspect could not be found. A major investigation took place. Police searched and searched every corner of the house and asked neighbors to provide security cameras. However, because not every family installed cameras, finding useful information was difficult. In the scant footage from the neighbor's camera, police paid special attention to a blue taxi that arrived near the victim's house at 2040 and left shortly thereafter. Investigating the license plate and following it, Hunan police quickly found out that the owner of the taxi was a man surnamed Tran. He was summoned to give a statement and confirmed that at 2020, on August 20, 2015, picked up a passenger at the victim's house. The passengers who booked the taxi were a couple, carrying a large backpack, wearing baseball caps and masks. As soon as they got in the car, the couple asked him to take them to Shaoyang Station, 30 kilometers away. Because the two people were dressed strangely, it was the last bus of the day, it left a deep impression on Mr. Chen. The police confirmed that the route in the taxi's dashcam matched Mr. Chen's testimony. However, the camera did not clearly record the appearance of the two passengers getting into the car. They were very smart, dressed conservatively, and chose a hidden angle from the camera to get in the car. When getting out of the car, both of them also moved quickly into the station, making it even more difficult to identify them. Police listed these two people as the biggest suspects. According to the driver's testimony, the police sketched the portraits of the two suspects. A man and a woman about 20 to 30 years old. The man was 1.7 to 1.75 meters tall, with a muscular build and a hoarse voice. The woman was 1.6 to 1.65 meters tall, with single eyelids and long, dyed blonde curly hair reaching her waist. Suspicious is that the age and appearance of these two people are similar to the victim's wife and son, so the possibility that the new wife and son are the perpetrators cannot be ruled out. The cell phone with a broken screen, which the victim was holding tightly before he died, was brought back to the police station for data analysis by the investigation team. In the most recent chat history, there was only a missed call from the victim to his ex-wife, 2040, after the two perpetrators had just left. The victim was not completely dead yet, and Mr. Wong himself called his ex-wife Mrs. Lee. After 3 unanswered calls, he sent her a text message. However, because the phone was broken and the victim suffered severe brain damage, text message was almost unreadable. When checking all the data in Mr. Wong's phone, police discovered a short video cut from a security camera, recording the image of the victim's son Kevin and his stepmother Nancy, hugging each other right at the tea table in the yard. If there was a camera, there would definitely be data from last night on the memory card. However, the police did not find any security cameras when they checked the house earlier. This footage could have been cut from a hidden mini-camera or taken away by the suspect. Not giving up any hope of solving the case, the Hunan police returned to the scene to search for the camera. Based on the angle of the video, they found a mini-camera mounted under the porch light bulb. The black and white camera has no sound, but the data in the camera is important evidence to help track down the criminal. The camera recorded on August 20, 2015, at Mr. Wong's house. There were no strangers coming in or out. Only his son Kevin and his new wife Nancy. Mr. Wong last appeared on the camera at 19, and he opened the gate for Kevin to enter the house. At 2040, Nancy and Kevin wore baseball caps, backpacks, and masks, left the gate, and got into a taxi without locking the gate. On August 22, 2015, when Mrs. Lee was trying to call her son, a stranger answered the phone. This person was a cleaning lady at Hunan railway station. She picked up 2 smartphones in the trash. Police arrived at the train station to retrieve the suspect's phone. During the inspection of the trash at the train station, the police discovered a pair of bloody men's clothes. The clothes were brought back to the station for testing, and the blood on them belonged to Mr. Wong. After 30 minutes of checking the data from the camera at the train station, police discovered that the two suspects had boarded the train to Guangdong, 2250. They had changed clothes on the train, though it was unclear which station they got off at and where they went. With enough witnesses and evidence, on August 23, 2015, the police issued a wanted notice for the two murderers, Nancy and Kevin. On August 30, 2015, two suspects were arrested while completing procedures to escape abroad at Baiyun International Airport, Guangdong. During her detention, Nancy did not admit to the murder. She did not explain or admit anything. Kevin met with his mother and sister. After being advised by his mother, he agreed to confess to his crime. The details of the case of the two criminals surprised the people following the case. Kevin and his stepmother Nancy developed feelings for each other while living together to look after Mr. Wong's house. In early August 2015, Mr. Wong attended a technology exhibition. The victim bought a mini camera to install in the yard to prevent theft. When the camera was installed, both his wife and child were away, so the two did not know about the existence of this camera. On the morning of August 20, 2015, while he was free to feed the fish, Mr. Wong suddenly remembered the mini camera installed on the porch, so he took out his phone to check its storage capacity. That day was Sunday. Kevin announced that he had an appointment to hang out with friends all day, and Nancy also went back to his hometown to visit relatives. Mr. Wong checked the data in the camera from the previous period, initially only intending to check the storage capacity and image quality. But then, he discovered that his young wife and son were having an affair. Two of them were kissing and caressing each other on the tea table in broad daylight, as if there were no one around. At this time, anger rising, Mr. Wong cut the video as evidence. Then, he called both his son and his young wife to come home immediately. Although he was very angry, Mr. Wong did not tell the two that he had discovered their affair over the phone. Although her husband called her home early for urgent matters since 11 a.m., it was not until 6:20 p.m. Nancy slowly returned home. Because she did not know that the scandal had been discovered, and did not pay attention to her husband's unusual attitude, Nancy happily carried a bag of pears into the house, went straight to the kitchen, brought a plate and knife to the table, intending to peel pears for her husband to eat. Nancy had just sat down when Mr. Wong threw a smartphone at her. When she picked up the phone, she discovered that it was a video of her and Kevin being intimate. At this time, Mr. Wong was very angry and began to scold Nancy about her previous job, calling her a whore who was used to seducing men. He told how she had seduced him before, and now she had seduced his son. Unable to contain his anger, Mr. Wong rushed in, grabbed Nancy's hair, and slapped her face repeatedly. He affirmed that he would not let this matter go and would kick both of them out of the house, not giving them a single cent. Nancy could only cry and sit in a corner on the sofa. Around 1900, Kevin returned home. Mr. Wong calmly opened the gate for his son. Ever since Mr. Wong divorced Mrs. Lee and brought his mistress home to live, the father-son relationship between him and his son had been greatly strained. Kevin's dissatisfaction with his father was obvious. He had graduated from university but refused to find a job, and still begged his father for money to spend. Father and son often quarreled. Although the victim was very upset with her son's attitude, she still provided him with money. As soon as he entered the house, Kevin saw Nancy with disheveled hair and a dirty face sitting on the sofa in the middle of the living room, sobbing. Not knowing that his affair with his stepmother had been discovered by his father, Kevin loudly questioned Mr. Wong. He said that Mr. Wong was a violent man. He had beaten his own mother before, and now he had turned to beat his new wife. He asked him what Nancy had done that made him so cruel. Seeing the two traitors defending each other, Mr. Wong angrily turned and slapped his son. Because he was hit unexpectedly, Kevin lost his balance and fell backwards. But luckily his hand grabbed the armrest of the chair so he didn't fall. While hitting, Mr. Wong continuously scolded him for being an ungrateful parasite, not even sparing his father's wife. Kevin had long been dissatisfied with his biological father. Being slapped was just an excuse for him to explode, and he rushed to fight with his father. Seeing the two people arguing, Nancy grabbed an empty vase on the TV shelf and rushed over to hit Mr. Wong hard on the head. Blood flowed from the top of Mr. Wong's head down to his face from the vase. Mr. Wong sat down in a chair, stunned. Despite being hit hard on the head, he was still very conscious, not forgetting to pick up the phone and say that he would call the police to arrest the two people for murder. Or he could press the call button. Kevin snatched the phone from him, slammed it hard on the floor, causing the phone to shatter and turn off immediately. Seeing Tuan's angry face, Mr. Wong was scared, holding his head and standing up, shouting loudly while trying to run outside to find a neighbor to come and help. But Ejin was faster. He took the fruit knife Nancy had left on the coffee table and stabbed Mr. Wong several times in the left chest. Blood splattered from the victim's body and covered Ejin's body and face. Seeing Mr. Wong fall to the ground, lying motionless in a pool of blood, Ejin was shocked and stood there, stunned. After killing his father, Kevin took the knife into the kitchen and threw it into the sink. He then washed off the remaining blood stains on his face and clothes. When they calmed down, the two decided to run away together. They changed into new clothes, dressed tightly, gathered all their personal documents, cash, and valuables, put them in their backpack. He also wrapped Kevin's bloody clothes in a plastic bag and stuffed them into his backpack, find a chance to dispose of them. At 2014, Kevin called a taxi from Hunan to Hunan train station. To avoid being recorded by the dashcam, the two cleverly moved through blind spots and got in the car. At the train station, Kevin turned off his phone and stuffed the two phones and the bloody clothes into the trash. It was unclear whether he was panicking or not, but instead of turning off his phone, he mistakenly switched it to silent mode. Kevin and Nancy bought tickets for the nearest train, which happened to be the train to Guangdong. They decided to go to Guangdong to hide for a while, wait for things to calm down, and then move somewhere else. Kevin bought a new phone to stay updated with the news and then rented a room. It was just that when the two left the house, the victim was still alive. In the last moments of his life, the first thing Mr. Wong remembered was not the hospital or the police, but Mrs. Lee, his ex-wife, who had been with him through the most difficult years. Mr. Wong groped to pick up the broken-screen smartphone. After turning it on, he called his ex-wife 3 times, but no one answered. He could only text for help, but because he was thrown hard to the ground, some parts of the screen were paralyzed. Because the screen was paralyzed, Mrs. Lee received an unclear message from Mr. Wong, so she did not go to save the victim. While hiding in Guangdong, on August 24th, Kevin and Nancy accidentally learned that they were wanted by the police. Neither of them expected their bad deeds to be discovered so quickly. In order to avoid being caught, they began planning to escape abroad. In the following days, the two did not stay in one place. They changed their appearance, their way of dressing, and their place of residence constantly. Nancy searched online for a unit that made fake passports and was willing to pay a large sum of money to have them make quick identification papers for her. On August 29th, after receiving the fake papers, Nancy used a fake resume to find a travel agency to book a 7-day trip to India for the two of them. India is a place with a large population and many scandals, suitable for escape. According to the original plan, after arriving in India, the two would escape from the tour group. However, at 7 p.m. on August 30, 2015, while doing procedures at Guangdong Baiyun International Airport, the two were arrested by the police. When he was arrested, Kevin looked like a different person. He was visibly thinner. From a young, muscular man, 1.78 meter tall, and weighing 80 kilograms, he turned into a thin, pale person after only 8 days of hiding, losing nearly 20 kilograms. His face was gaunt, his eyes were dull, and his face was covered with a beard. Nancy's appearance had also changed a lot. She not only cut her hair short to her shoulders, but also dyed it black. Although both of them tried to change their appearance, they could not escape the police's sight. They were suspected by airport security because of their strange way of dressing and unusually sneaky behavior right from the moment they entered the airport. When they confirmed that both of them were murder suspects being hunted by Hunan police and Guangdong police, The security department immediately contacted the police. Kevin and Nancy were arrested right at the check-in area while checking in for the plane. Once they commit an evil deed, no matter how they disguise themselves, they will definitely leave traces. However, the perpetrator of the case made people feel extremely sorry. Sorry for a talented person, a good child who was corrupted and became a criminal of society because of a family incident. The story of the Wong's family. From happiness to tragedy. Since childhood, Kevin was an intelligent and understanding child. During his 12 years of junior high school, he achieved excellent results. When Kevin was born, his family was still very poor. His father, Mr. Wong, nearly 40 years old, was still a construction worker at the construction site. He was a hardworking man, did not gamble or drink, but because of poverty, it took him a long time to get married. His mother, Mrs. Lee, was a hard-working woman who grew vegetables every day to sell at the market to help her husband raise their children. Although life was very difficult, the family was always full of joy. When he was 3 years old, his mother gave birth to a younger sister. His father took the family from the countryside of Jiangzhou, Hunan, to live in Shaoyang City, Hunan. His father followed others to study and become a real estate broker, occasionally finding new customers to sign contracts and getting commissions. His mother took care of the food, tuition, and living expenses of the family. At first, in order to take care of the family and let her husband focus on building his career, Mrs. Lee had to work very hard. She had to work as a maid for rich families and sometimes stole leftover food to give her children good meals. Kevin had to help his mother take care of his younger sister, A2, since A2 was only 8 months old. Every day he carried her to school. Then he walked more than 2 kilometers, carried her to where his mother worked to feed her, then walked with her back home. Although life was difficult, Kevin's academic performance was always a great source of pride for his parents. He was always at the top of the whole school. During Tet, the whole family did not dare to return to their hometown and did not even dare to buy new clothes for their children. But Mr. Wong, on the contrary, was always neat and tidy, wearing luxurious clothes to work, focusing on his career, not thinking about family matters. In the end, all of Mrs. Lee's efforts were duly rewarded. In 2008, Mr. Wong was promoted to manager of the Shaoyang, Hunan branch due to his good performance at work. Also in this year, he started studying real estate business. His work was favorable, and his family life became better and better. Not only did they buy land and build a house, but Kevin also went to university. After stabilizing his life, having a lot of money in hand, and getting to know many people, in 2011, Mr. Wong officially betrayed his hardworking wife to have an affair with Nancy, a bar girl. Under the guise of a young girl with unfortunate circumstances, Nancy made Mr. Wong fall in love with her at first sight. He supported Nancy and rented her a separate apartment. The two secretly dated for a while, before being discovered by Mrs. Lee. That year, Kevin was in his second year of university. Because of the impact on her child's future, she chose to remain silent and not make a big deal out of it. Nancy met Mr. Wong when she was just 20 years old. She has a beautiful face and a graceful figure, is a famous figure in the singing club, but she is also an unfortunate woman. When she was 18, Nancy's father and mother both died in a traffic accident. Family's assets were confiscated by the bank, and no one in her family wanted to take her in, making her homeless. Although she was a good student, Nancy did not have money to go to school. After finishing high school, she had to work for money to support herself. At first, Nancy worked as a waitress in a seafood restaurant. She got this job thanks to the help of an old acquaintance of her parents. Working as a waitress in the restaurant, she was provided with food and accommodation, but Bing Hong could only last 3 months before having to quit. Having been pampered since childhood, Nancy could not stand the hard work in the restaurant. Although she respected the person who helped her find the job, Nancy was still fired by the boss. In difficult circumstances, she switched to working as a prostitute in a singing club. This job is easy and has a lot of tips to spend. Nancy has worked here for nearly 2 years. In early 2011, when she saw a coworker being supported by a rich man, She did not need to work, but still had a luxurious and comfortable life. Nancy decided to find herself such a man. During that time, Nancy met Mr. Wong. Two quickly fell in love and became lovers. Mr. Wong provided Nancy with food, accommodation, and shopping. However, she still did not feel it was enough. Every day, she still sweetly enticed Mr. Wong to leave his wife to come to her. A needle in the bag eventually came out. In early 2014, when he was in his final year of study, Kevin discovered the affair between Mr. Wong and Nancy. When his son found out, Mr. Wong no longer hid it and openly brought Nancy home to live together, causing Mrs. Lee to be resentful and divorce. Since his parents divorced, Kevin seemed to have become a different person. He started to indulge in extravagance, neglected his studies, and used self-destruction to take revenge on his biological father. As a result, he graduated 1 semester later than his classmates. After graduating, he did not look for a job and stayed home to depend on his biological father every day, eating and sleeping. Mr. Wong often went on business trips away from home. Kevin and Nancy were both young people with a lot of free time. After being together for a long time, the two developed feelings for each other. At first, because he hated his father's adultery with his mistress, Kevin deliberately forced and seduced Mr. Wong's new wife. But after a period of contact, he realized that Nancy was also a pitiful woman, so he turned to sympathize with her and fell in love with her without realizing it. The two of them were like a couple who had just moved in together. Kevin was young and energetic, unlike Mr. Wong, who was quite weak in sex. Whenever Mr. Wong left the house to go to work, meet clients, or go on business trips, Kevin and Nancy would quickly get entangled with each other. The frequency of their sex increased day by day. There was not a day when they did not caress each other. Every corner of the house had the mark of their love. The two even had sex in Mr. Wong's bedroom without any restraint. On Sunday, August 20th, Mr. Wong did not go on a business trip. He stayed home all day, making it impossible for the couple to caress each other. Kevin and Nancy had planned it together in advance, lying to Mr. Wong to go out, then renting a motel not far from home. The two had sex since 8 a.m. Although he received Mr. Wong's call at noon, at nearly 6 o'clock. In order to avoid being suspected by Mr. Wong, Nancy went home first, while Kevin stayed at the motel for another 30 minutes before checking out and leaving. The two had been having an affair for more than 4 months before being discovered. During the argument, because he could not control his actions, Kevin killed his father. On November 26, 2015, trial of the case of a son having an affair with his stepmother and killing his biological father together officially took place. There were not many people in attendance. Kevin and Nancy walked out of the cell, walking slowly and looking around, but there was no surprise or fear. The two faces now looked tired and strangely lonely. The deep wrinkles on their foreheads showed anxiety. Nancy was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Kevin was sentenced to death for intentional murder. The mother of the murderer, Mrs. Lee, filed an appeal asking for leniency for her son. Kevin's murder was an act of impulse during a dispute, not a premeditated act. Although the murderer had tried to flee when he was arrested, he repented and honestly confessed to his crime. Faced with the pleas of the perpetrator's family, on December 21, 2015, a retrial was held. According to the trial, the crime stemmed from a conflict. Kevin confessed, but his crime was serious. Killed his biological father. Kevin's murder was a serious violation of Chinese social norms at that time. Therefore, Kevin was not entitled to leniency according to the law. The court rejected the appeal of the perpetrator's family, upheld the death sentence, and carried out the sentence on August 4, 2017. Family is the greatest source of encouragement and support in life. When facing difficulties or challenges, family will always be there to help, encourage, and share sadness together. Family bears a great responsibility in building human character and morality. By demonstrating exemplary leadership and proper behavior, family has a profound impact on the moral formation of its children. Mr. Wong's betrayal of his wife, who had accompanied him since his difficult days to pursue a relationship with a beautiful young woman the same age as his child, was a wrongdoing, causing much outrage in the community. This is not only a normal act of betraying a lover, but also an act that is morally repugnant. From a woman's perspective, being betrayed by her husband is an extremely painful and disappointing experience. The person she trusted and spent her entire youth abandoning her when she was rich and prosperous can cause a loss of trust and deep mental trauma. There is no reason to explain Mr. Wang's betrayal. Wang Zhouhai's case is a great lesson for modern people. When you succeed, don't forget those who helped you. When you are poor, don't blame your father. When you are rich, don't criticize your wife. When you are in trouble, don't cheat on your friends. When you are rich, don't forget the favors of your acquaintances. In the world, how many people are sincere with each other?